unmute. I'll make sure it's ready to go. Okay, now everybody can hear me okay? Hi, everyone. So I see we've got just give it a few minutes for everyone to get kind of paneled in, but I see that the haze and the highs, so that's always a good sign. And we got folks from, yeah, if you don't mind, we'll get started. You can always throw an introduction where you're coming from. It's always nice to see people from all over the world online, and get somebody from Texas. And yeah, I see. So I'll try to talk a little slower. From Michigan. All right. Virginia, fellow state, Virginia. Atlanta, Georgia. Nice to see you. And then some folks from all around. Arizona. Hopefully Arizona's starting to cool down a little bit, huh, this time of year. Brazil. Oi, nice to meet you. Morning from San Francisco. Gary from Vancouver. Hi. So there's a quick question. If we need to have both YouTube and Zoom call at the same time. I think either whatever works for you to view. If you have the Zoom open, that's fine. I mean, you'll just be watching, and then if you want to pull up some stuff on your own desktop and website, that's fine. But a lot of this is going to be presentation type stuff. So I'm going to be going over history of QA, what it is to be a QA engineer, things like that. So that's okay if you have access to your desktop, that'd be good. So we're going to have some questions along the way, but we'll have some time for Q&A. So I just kind of want to set some ground rules and precedents. So as I move through the presentation, we'll definitely be going through a lot of information, but we'll have time for questions. So if I don't answer your question right away, there's going to be somebody else in the channel that may be able to answer that. Okay. So just want to let you know, don't think I'm ignoring you if I don't answer your question right away, but we'll have people that are able to answer your questions. So some questions regarding the type of lesson. It's not a lecture, definitely not a lecture, but we're here to teach you about what it is to be a QA, the types of testing. We'll go over some basics. It's a very introductory level. We'll do some examples of what bugs are. So we'll go low, and I'll get started here momentarily, but just want to make sure everybody can see my screen okay. And great. We'll talk about your new journey into quality assurance and what it is to be a software tester. Even to this day, there's still some mystery around what it is. So hopefully I'll be able to dispel some of that for you and motivate you. And if you have questions, we'll be able to answer a lot of those today about what it is. Okay, great. See me? I can hear me. My hair looks great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, start with a little humor. I always like the icebreaker, right? So yeah, there's some questions there. We have other support they can see, so they should be able to get to you. But as far as age limit goes, there's definitely not an age limit as far as, I mean, adults 18 and up QA. It's anybody in the workforce. So all right. So it's 1:04, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I think we've given people ample time to jump in, but we may have some folks join later, but that's okay. So obviously you see the slide here, QA engineer. A lot of people, when they think software testing, they don't think of it as an engineer, but you are in fact engineering, and you're writing tests, you're creating things. So there is some creation involved, but we'll talk about specifically what TestPro is, but we're going to talk about the boot camp, and we're going to talk about not only what it is to test, but how do we go about testing. There's a lot of, like I said, it's an introductory level, so we're going to cover the basics, but as you go further in the academy here in the boot camp, you learn a lot more in-depth things. We're going to do a little practice today, and then this is being recorded, so you should have access to it later on. Okay, and then towards the end, we'll definitely allow some time for some good Q&A, not QA, but Q&A. We'll do some some questions regarding quality assurance and everything. Okay, so and the reason I want to let you know I left the browser here that way because I'm going to be pulling in some browsers and so if I have the full screen open, sometimes it's hard to bring in other things when you're sharing. So hopefully this is large enough. You can see the screen here. We're going to talk about TestPro. What is TestPro? Well, TestPro started in 2018. So believe it or not, that's almost over 3 years ago right now. It's 2021. So it's a relatively new organization, but get this, 90%, that's 9 out of 10 students get an offer in just 6 months after graduation. Now, that's within. It doesn't necessarily mean specifically 6 months. It could be 2 months, 3 months, but the average here is that in 6 months after graduation, 90% of students. So that goes to show you right there. That's proof that it's a very valid program. It gives you the skills you need to get in the door as QA, and then as you work in the field, you'll start to grow your skill set, and you'll start to have a resume and whatnot. But this academy has 305 plus, so that's growing, right? Students already got hired. So imagine that in just 3 years, a little over 3 years, that many students are able to already get hired. So that's that alone is a testimony in itself of this program that works. TestPro will teach you things that you need for the field. Virtual classes. Okay, that means everything is done online. You have a system called LMS, Learning Management System, which you'll log into. Okay, and you'll be able to communicate with teachers. There's support and things like that. But another very important aspect of the program, TestPro, is BPPE certified. That's the Bureau for Private Post-Secondary Education. So that's an organization that basically they audit any academies in this particular state here. They are approved, right, to teach education with certain guidelines, right? So they're certified. So that's something that you always want to look at anytime you go to an academy, anytime you go, just like colleges have their accreditations, right? So TestPro is BPPE certified. You're more than welcome to look up that BPPE organization later on to get more information about how they go about it and the validity of that certification. So that's very important to realize. Okay, it's certified, and that's definitely something to be proud of for their organization. Okay, community. Now, of course, these images were all pre-pandemic and whatnot, but I can speak for myself. I've been to plenty of these conferences and meetups. This is an image specifically from a QA meetup group. Where you have presentations, interview tips, sometimes free food and snacks. It's basically a place where you can come together with other testers in a non-formal setting. Here it's mostly just presentations and things like that. But then of course after work, right, you see that they're at the bar getting some drinks. If you don't, water, Shirley Temple, whatever you like to drink, hang out, talk about life outside of work. But the point we're trying to make with this slide is that there's a lot of testers out there, and there's a huge community of testers. So you're not alone. When you join the field, you're not alone. There's always going to be someone here that's going through something you are. You can share best practices, whatnot. So a lot of these things are a lot of fun. And just I will say, in software in general, there tends to be the software industry. There tends to be a lot of community because we're all working on the same types of things and we have the same goals in mind. So keep that in mind. You're joining a community of testers and software professionals when you enter this field. Okay. That community is supported by companies here in TestPro specifically. They have some partnerships here that this is a lot of different things that they go through in those partnerships. But if you see here, Thrive Market, Tinder, Selenium, obviously that's for automation. You'll learn Walt Disney, a huge company for media, right? And this is only a small list of them. Beachbody, Bluebeam. These companies trust the students that come out of Test Pro because they're known for the rigorous work and really teaching you what you need to know to thrive in the industry, right? Nobody wants to just get a job, punch in, clock out 9 to 5. We want you to thrive, and that means that you're able to do a job that you enjoy, you get paid well, and you're consistently growing in the field. Okay, so these companies, they recognize that. Okay, so Test Pro is recognized, and that's not all of them, right? That's just some of the companies that we like to highlight here. So that's important to know. Okay. Now, quick bit about myself. My name is Mark McCray. As you see my title here on LinkedIn, I consider myself a senior software test engineer. When you start out in the field, basically entry level, or sometimes we'll call them junior testers. I've been doing this for over 10 years. So this year is actually going on 11 years. I actually have a new company that I work for, but this slide is just a couple companies that I have worked for in the past, but I've worked everywhere from the oil industry, doing 3D simulations of ground digging, which is, you had to learn some new domain technology. I've worked for nonprofit organizations. As you can see, I've worked in the real estate industry. So there's a variety of work that you can. Now I work in the automotive industry, dealing with self-driving cars, as far as the type of applications we test. So there's the point I try to make with that is there's a wide variety of things you can work with. So don't just think you're stuck in one thing. Okay. So I have plenty of experience, but I'm still learning, right? Feel free to grab my LinkedIn, look me up. You can always add me to my network, and I'll definitely have a look. But there's some companies I work for. Okay. So what do testers do? And you see the nice little Shiba Inu, cute dog there. I do that a lot of times when I'm looking at code. I'm like, or I'm looking at something new. What is this? Okay. When we think of testing, right, we think of, oh, let's take an exam, or let's go to school, right? Or what do testers actually do? And this is part of it, but it's a big part of it. Okay. Well, you could say we break things. Now, is this gentleman, is he testing the hammer, or he's testing the table, right? He's putting it through what we call maybe a stress test, right? He's testing how hard. He might be a little frustrated, but in the end of the day, we don't break the things ourselves, but we find things that are broken. Your job is a big role of discovery, right? Think of yourself as sort of the front lines, right? Before it goes out to the field. A lot of times people can think of it as the last line of defense before it goes out to production. So you're in between that this and the customer. So your job is to not only discover things that are broken, but also enhance the quality as you report defects. And it's up to the developers and the companies to decide if they want to fix it, right? But that's your job as a software tester. Okay, what is testing? Testing. And I'm just going to read this description because it's a good one that makes sense. Okay, testing is the process of verifying and validating. So those are two separate things. You're verifying and validating that a software or a software program is bug-free. Okay, so defects, right? We want to minimize our defects, meets all requirements, because a lot of times it can be bug-free, but still not meet the requirements. So there's an issue there, right? Now you want to be able to handle what's called boundary cases, edge cases. You'll learn about these things as we go. So, but the difference between validation and verification is, and this is a very good analogy here, or very good wording. Are we building the right product? So we don't even know if things are correct yet, right? Much less bug-free. Are we building the right product? Whereas verification is, okay, we know this is what we want. This is the right product. Are we building this product that we want correctly? Okay. So your job in V&V is to help out with that process. Okay. There's a lot of people involved, but your job as a quality assurance engineer is to primarily validate and verify that's the testing process. Now there's other things involved, but that's the main role of testing. Okay. Now here's some subcategories or more activities in testing, and they'll pop up here slowly. But prioritization. Not everything will be fixed. It's good to note things. It's good to report things, but not everything will be fixed because it's up to the product owner or the company to say, well, this may be a type of bug or defect, but number one, our users may be able to live with it, or number two, we can include it in a future release. And sometimes you will get just not going to fix. Okay, we know that it's a known issue. Thank you. We're not going to fix it. But then if you have a crash, something's totally broken on the user interface, that's going to take high priority, right? Okay, we need to get that a hot fix. That's why they call it a hot fix. Let's get this out quickly, right? Kind of like a hot dinner, right? Something that needs to go out quickly. Bug reporting. Okay, so you're monitoring, tracking the status and history of what's going on. That's why reporting is so important, because you have documentation. You can say, oh, okay, I don't know if I've seen this bug before. Let me do a search in my database. And you could say, well, I have seen this bug before, or this is completely a separate scenario. I'm not really sure. Let me look at the steps. Our brains can only remember so much. You can say, oh, I have a wonderful memory, but you're never going to remember as much as a computer can. It's just not possible. So that's why you report and document these things. Bug hunting, which you'll do some after this lesson. We'll talk some more about bug hunting. But it's really just what it says. You're out there exploring. That's a keyword you need to learn, because we're going to talk about exploration. Okay, this is where it can get fun, right? You're out there tracking the defects, right? You don't know where they are. They're trying to evade you sometimes, right? But you may not be looking at the requirements. Ad hoc. That means you're improvising, right? You think, well, what if I do this? Oh, you know what? I might. And sometimes that happens by accident. Like you like find a bug and you didn't mean to do something. So that's part of it, right? You're bug hunting, bug reporting. You learn from your ad hoc, and you write test cases. Now, test cases are these test cases we're going to follow in the future. If you do testing in the future, there's different types of testing, but you want to have your test cases. Okay, and that's writing your cases, so creating them, executing, right? So performing your test cases, and then reporting on those cases. And then this last component here of the slide is story testing. Okay, it's not bedtime stories here. You're not going through and reading a book, but we call them stories because they're building up this software, and we have different components, right? Different chapters of that story, right? So we have the requirements in the story. We have the bug hunting that can happen in the story, and then we also have cases that can be written out of the story. So that's basically just a way for you to document what the features are being developed and what the developers and the company are working on. Okay, so all these things you'll be involved in as a tester, and it's an exciting, rewarding, at sometimes adventurous journey. And the more you do it, you discover different things. So let's talk about what a software bug is. Now, a bug could be a lot of different things, right? But it's an error, a flaw, or a fault in a computer program. And the reason it's a fault because it causes an incorrect or unexpected result. So keep that word in mind, because you'll need to learn your expected results and your unexpected results, right? Or how it behaves in unintended ways. Okay, and then of course the second, anything that is wrong. But you have to know that it's wrong. So you learning your product as you begin to work in the field, you'll learn more what the company is going for, right? So then you'll know, well, this doesn't line up with what we're trying to do, so it's probably a bug. But this is all about communication. So you see in the slide we have a bug, a feature, and by design. So you notice the difference. The bug doesn't have a nice suit. The feature, he's got a nice fancy 3-piece suit, and then the design's a little is a little wretched there, right? Because it's got some different changes and whatnot. Okay, so that's part of your design requirements, what they intended to do. Okay. Bugs. This is a distribution of bugs. Now this isn't precise to the T, but it's an average. Okay, it's where you typically find types of bugs. Okay, design attributes to anywhere between 13-15% are usually design related, meaning there was a problem in the design or it's not accurate based on the design. But look at that green chunk there, functionality. That's not only is it the largest number, but it's the most important aspect of your software. If it doesn't function and do what it's supposed to do, it's definitely a problem. So you'll find some correlation between the need of the companies and why functionalities bugs are higher. Okay, and then you get down to like spelling, which is like typos, grammar. You can be that guy that reports the commas and the things like that, but those aren't as valuable. They're important, but you see they tend to be a lot lower in the 7% range. Okay, compatibility, that's big. Compatibility means does this software open up? Does this website open up on IE 11 or Edge? Does this application work on iOS? Is it compatible with Android? Okay, so sometimes you'll find bugs because the developers, they always don't have time to check the different environments, and that's part of your job, is to check, hey, does the software work on the expected and supported environments? Okay, the next thing, localization. That just means if I'm visiting the website and say Europe, does it get, or UK, does the currency come up in pounds, right? Or does the date change based on the UK? Or if I'm visiting a website in Mexico, is it in Spanish? Does my website convert to Spanish? Is it supposed to? If I go to Asia, is it supposed to be in that native language? So those things. Now you'll find that Chrome does a lot, Google does a lot to do that for you, but you still want to make sure. That's why it's 6%. It's a little lower. Performance. Okay, a lot of times there's performance bugs. It's slow. It's laggy. It's just not doing what it's. But it's just not. It's a slow navigation. It takes too long to load this. So those things attribute. There's defects. They're a little bit lower because it's not that they don't happen. It's just something that is not as reported as functionality per se. Okay, and then you have usability. Now usability can get confused with functionality a lot of times because people say, well, isn't usability functionality? And it's not. They're separate. You can still have good usability and bad functionality, meaning the way that you use the software. Is it user friendly? Everything works fine. But is it user friendly? Am I able to find the buttons I'm looking for? Is it intuitive, right? Meaning that does it show me the things that I expect it to do, right? Is there predictive text, for example, right? When I search, that's usability. How usable is our software? And you see that's a little bit higher, 15%. And then of course, you would think this is probably a good thing, meaning that companies are really focusing on security before it goes out the door. But it's not that just because that's low doesn't mean you can forget about security. You always want to think about security that has to do with passwords, networks. Can somebody hack into our system real easy, or our app, right? Does it share information I don't want it to share? Those kind of things you need to think about. So that's a little bit just an idea of the chart. You see it kind of goes like a bell curve almost, but has some peaks there. But that's the distribution of bugs. Okay, so we talked about user interfaces, or UI, or sometimes you'll hear GUI, graphical user interface. Okay, this gentleman has looks like he has 6 arms here, right? I mean, that would be nice if you could handle all these things, right? But I've only got 2, at least 2 that I know about, right? And then the layout here, you see how TestPro on the bottom, it's a little bit shaded, and maybe it's not supposed to be, right? In that case, we go to our design, or we'd ask our product owner, is this what we want? If we're not sure. Fonts, colors, content, images, anything that has to do with your visual perception, right? That's that comprises the GUI. Layout. Okay, this could be a window is overlapping, right, with something, or it's something's not exactly where it's supposed to be. There could be a border. It could be cut off. Anything. Your layout has to do with how it's designed, right? It's a wireframe, right? There's this here in the corner. Does that flow together? Not just on one browser, not just on one screen. Does that flow together how it's supposed to, right? Is the layout. So you'll find a lot of bugs in that because developers don't have the time to go through every single environment. They're looking at functionality, those things, but your job is to say, well, hey, this doesn't look right in this specific environment. And then sometimes stuff's missing, right? It could be an advertisement that doesn't show up that your company has website advertising. It could be a unsupported file perhaps doesn't work, or maybe Chrome did an update and your files aren't coming through. So you need to keep in mind things that are supposed to be there should be there. And then of course spacing, right? Line width, unwanted space, are things too far spread out? Vertical spacing, up and down, things look good. So the more you do it, you kind of train your eyes to look for those things. But that's one thing you'll find is layout issues. And then let's see here. Oh, clicked it back for some reason. Okay, fonts. Now, you'll have something a lot of times in the companies called style guides. Just that means that, hey, this font should be, in this example, Helvetica, or should be Times Roman. So the more you learn about styling and style sheets, sometimes those don't push through the fonts like they're supposed to. You could have a different family used that's not even supposed to be correct. So you could have bold font that comes through, it's not supposed to. So you want to keep in mind the fonts, the way they look on the website or your cell phone, your mobile app, different things like that. There could be mismatching fonts. Now, we're not talking about spelling or grammar or anything. We're just talking about the actual style of the font itself and the size. That's important, right? Is it a title? Is it a paragraph? Those kind of things. So as a QA tester, you'll look for those things on a daily basis. You'll start to look for font issues. Color, is the color right? Mismatch color. Is it blue when it's supposed to be red? And then is it the right shade of blue? Maybe it's blue, but it's not quite light blue. And if you're familiar with code, like there's codes for colors. So sometimes those codes will be off, or sometimes it just, because we can't always trust our eyes, right? Because sometimes I see a thing of one color, somebody sees it a different color. I don't know if you're familiar with those tests they put out. They went viral where somebody would see something gold and it looked like yellow to somebody or something like that. So that's the human eyes. We can't trust that. We have to trust the color matches the color coding. Okay. A lot of times it goes for buttons too. Buttons are totally different color when they're not supposed to. But if I tap on a button, does the color change? A lot of times you'll have buttons are disabled. They're supposed to be a lighter shade, those kind of things. So these are things you'll look at as you test. So you look at fonts, you look at layout, colors, right, of the screens. Content. This is really important. Is it supposed to be in uppercase? A lot of times titles, we want all caps, right? Is it lower? Is it not all caps? Is it like a newspaper headline where things are supposed to be titled the first part of the word, right? Is it the words mismatch? See the example, Twilight. Twilight is a good example. And of course, yep, somebody caught that. Excellent. That's the first step, is to be able to see. And I think that's intentional, so I just left in there. But yeah, spelling is definitely a mistake. And you might say, well, what's the big deal? It's just a word. But you got to think about as a perception of a user. If you go in somewhere and something's totally spelled wrong, that might tell you either they don't care or they didn't catch it, right? What other things? Initially, it's a psychology thing, right? So you want to present yourself to the user in the best possible way. And it's like if they can't even spell spelling right, what else is wrong, right? So that's your job. Part of it is to look for those things. Okay, so here's an example in oops, just jumped by itself for some reason. Let's bring it back. So uh, this is an example on iOS. Now I can guarantee you what happened here is the developers all have their iPhone Pro Max, the large ones, and they forget about the little guys, the SEs. Like that's kind of what I have. I have an iPhone SE, and it fits in my hand. It's not a baking sheet. I can't cook cookies on it, right? It's a hand size. In this case, you have overlapping. So mobile devices will have what's called responsive design or reactive design. They're supposed to react to the layout. Like if I twist it this way, it's going to turn. So in this case, um, these things are overlapping. And again, it comes to my first impression as a user, right? I'm throwing all my money in Chase, right? All my billions and millions. Whatever money I have, I'm putting it in Chase, right? And they can't even get my credit score right. So that's going to have a negative perception. So as first thing you would do as a QA, if you saw that in development, you'd report that as an alignment issue. And then they would say, well, it's not a big, you would say, well, you think about the users, right? Your job is not only to find defects, but you're also representing the user's experience, right? You want them to have the best quality experience. One example, UI bug. Now I'm going to bring you an example here, and I'm going to bring over the humans website. So just give me 1 second here while I hope you can see that. Okay, I'm going to try to make it a little wider there. Okay, thank you, Mackenzie. So we're going to search for electrician. Okay, and now before just a quick, we talked about a little bit of practice, and if you mentioning if you want to take notes or if you want to, yeah. So the user interface, I see the comments here. Can anybody tell me without me saying what's going on here with the we found an electrician. That's good. Very good, Kevin. All right. There's a blank box in every other option. Now we don't know why that happens unless we go into the code. It could be the advertisements aren't coming through, but you don't know that as a user. And let's say I don't necessarily know that. More than likely it is advertisements, or it could just be the way it's blocked out. But that's a negative perception to a user, right? It just doesn't look good. It looks weird. And normally, what you do is you'd either hide those blank spaces and things like that, if that was the case, or you'd find a different way. So great job on that. You guys are ready to. It's not user friendly, exactly. So that's a good point. That's usability, right? But it's also in a way it's a visual bug. So you'd probably report this as visual tag / usability, okay? Because yeah, it's not friendly. Okay, yeah, there's definitely depending on your network, there could be some performance issues too. All right, let's talk about functional testing. I love this slide. This image. That's cool. I wish I had a door like that. I could just be like, looks like he's doing something totally different there and just changing it. But the system is tested against specific requirements, functional requirements, and specifications, right? We want to know, is this application doing what it's supposed to do? Yeah, and there's a lot of things that we think are supposed to function like that, but not always, right? So that's why it's a good idea to have your requirements side by side, and you want to know that it's functioning as expected. Okay. A lot of what you'll be doing, especially as an entry-level junior tester, is black box testing. it's black box because you can't see into it, right? You know your input. I can see my keyboard. I know what I'm typing. Um, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, and frankly, I don't care. Just like it says, we don't care what's happening behind the scenes. I don't care if your server's slow. Uh, I don't care if your network's down and your offsite center. All I care is that it outputs to me, and then I can read it, right? Um, and your user action, system reaction, does it react accordingly? Okay. Um, that's the gist of black box testing. A lot of input. Do I get my output correctly as I'm supposed to? And the more you learn about testing, there is some other things there, but black box testing is primarily you just going on the user interface and typing things and seeing how it responds. Okay. And here's Shawn Michaels. Always, I was a fan of him blowing up the limo. And that's to say, yeah, Heartbreak Kid. Press the button now. That could be a remote access, some kind of. That's something that you want to test, right? You want to say, if I hit this button, does it blow up my app, right? Does it make things work as it's not supposed to? Okay, excuse me. So now we're gonna do another functional example. If you have humans up, you're more than welcome to do it as well. Smoke testing, good one. Go ahead and go pull up humans. I'm going to do it as well. Type in. So you're searching for service with location. So they like electricians in this examples, but you can search for anything. But in this case, we'll search for someone in New York, right? And then we're supposed to reset the filters and then check out the city, okay? So we like humans because there's a lot of good examples. Okay. So if I do New York, and let's see if I do a, well, actually, let's search like that. And now if I do the search, it doesn't pull it up. So that could be another defect, right? Like, why can't I search for, why do I have to go to the drop down box, right? But essentially, if I just did this, let's search for software engineer New York. Okay, see how that, if we do search here, that's even worse. It's not even coming up. But the results didn't update. Could be a lot of, but if we reset filters, we still have New York here. Okay, it may have set the drop down. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have told you, but you could probably figure it out, right? It's New York still here. It could have been. You could say it's memory, whatnot, but we reset filters. That should clear everything out, right? So that would be an example of filter bug not working. And then also, that it doesn't update. Let's not this time. Now it's going back to electrician. Okay. In our little example here, we found 3 things that are just totally wonky, right? So that's the part of things that's part of what you're going to do. You're going to be looking for these anomalies. Now, if I was going to do more things, we'd go explore around here. And as you join the course, you'll get to explore humans a lot more and have a lot of fun finding bugs there. You'll find plenty of them. So previously selected city is showing in this location field. Now, I want to make this point because your product owner or a developer might argue, say, well, that saves the city there. So the next time they go in, it'll be there, right? And you're like, well, no, as a user, what if I want to change the city? What if I want to see something? What if I want to go to California, right? And I have this, it's an extra step that I have to go through now. Now I have to clear it. I already reset my filters. Why? Okay, so as a QA, like I said, you're an advocate for the users. Why put them through extra steps? Okay, you don't want to have to do that. And then you might go to your product owner and you talk to him a little bit about it, and you present your case, right? How would you feel put yourself in a user's shoes. Okay, so that's a functional bug, and not to mention there's other things going on there, but that's why we really like the humans site, because there's some looks nice, but there's some stuff going on there. Okay, so before I and I'm sure you all probably know what this is, but compatibility testing, we mentioned it in the start here. You're checking whether your software is capable of running on different hardware systems, right? So Windows 10 versus Windows 7, right? People still use Windows 7. Mac tend to update, right? But some people don't want to upgrade to Big Sur, whatever's the latest, right? Some people want to be on OS X, Lion, Jaguar, or whatever's out there, right? So if that's the case, then you have to test your software. Does it work on that supported environment, right? Some users, some companies only want to support certain forms of Android, right? Do they want to go all the way back to Android 5, 6? Some cases you might have to. When I worked for the nonprofit, we did have to support a lot of Androids, because you know what? The users were older and they had these devices, or they were in poorer countries and they had these Android phones. They didn't have the latest iOS, $3,000, whatever it is now, $2,000 phone. So we had to support that, right? So you have to think, but the key is as a QA engineer is to manage everyone's expectation. Just say, well, is that supported? Do we need to be testing on Internet Explorer 11, right? Because it's going to be phased out in a month or a year, right? But you want to get a concrete understanding of what is supported, and that's what you'll be testing on. Hardware, operating systems, networks, right? Do we even support 3G, right? Maybe your app, when they release it, says we only support 5G. Okay, so anybody complains about 3G, then you're disclaiming to them, you're saying we only support 5G activity, right? Even though it may pick up on 3G, so you're not going to waste time testing on 3G because it's not supported. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, you probably guessed it, we're going to stick to humans because we know it well and we know what could go potentially wrong with it. So I'm just going to, and this is the easiest example, is I'm going to pull up something here, and I'm not going to tell you quite yet because I want you to have a little fun with it and see if you can tell me what, and you probably already know ahead of time, but I don't want you to read the error because that gives it away. And I don't want you to see that site because it gives it away. Okay. Can you tell me, without seeing it, what do you think this browser is? Now, this is actually a good thing to know, because as other people have mentioned, sometimes if you don't know these little tabs here and things like that. Yep. So Kevin hit the nail. Oh, it's IE, but IE what version? It is wonderful. IE 11. Yep, Internet Explorer 11. You'd be surprised. There is like, you find like a lot of these government industries, or if things are just working on Internet Explorer, they don't want to change it to fix it. So you will find some things that still work on Internet Explorer, which is not technically supported, but it's something that you'll find, right? So it doesn't work. Humans, you can't test anything, right? But you now know the limitations of your software. So good thing is one thing less to test. But if you didn't know, and I don't know, something came back, you're like, oh, IE 11, yeah, it should work. You have to know the limitations of your software. Okay, and they would probably work fine on Microsoft Edge, whatnot, but yeah, homepage doesn't load. You did get actual error pop up there, but I just took it away because it said something about Microsoft. Okay, yeah, so the site's 100% useless on Internet Explorer 11. They can live with that. They're not going to fix it because there's too many hoops to jump around to support it. Now, it might be worth, the more you get into this field, it might be worth knowing the ratio of use in the world. So Chrome is totally number one. It's somewhere around 70% of the world. I mean, it's really, and why is it number one? Not because they invest in advertising, because it's user friendly. People like it. But in some countries, people do still use uh, uh, Edge and things like that. But worldwide, Chrome has been adopted very heavily. Safari still tends to be a little lower. Even Mac users like to use Chrome on Mac, just because that's their thing, right? They're more focused on internet browsing, whereas Apple's more focused on making nice phones and nice computers, right? Their thing is not necessarily web browsers. So, but that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay, which is it supported on? Which environment does it support? We talked about localization testing. Okay, does it work in North America the same way it does in South America? If I pull up on the website in Africa, does it load up in the right currency? Excuse me, those kind of things. Antarctica, right? Um, there's a lot of things you need to consider. Another thing to really consider is very important is different countries have different restrictions. You can't do the same stuff in China in Asia. Certain parts of China is a good example because they do have different restrictions on the internet that you can do in North America. You can't do the same stuff in some countries like in Africa that you can do in North America. So if you're expecting your product to work in these countries, you need to know the limitations. And of course they have they have certain support in countries that they would specify, but you need to know that there's going to be localized settings that your app needs to support. So as a tester, you'll do that. We'll talk about ways to do that in the future, but obviously you're not going to go travel to I mean, it would be nice, right? Hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do some real world testing. You got to send me to these different countries. And some people have those jobs, but in reality, you'd probably test on a virtual network, something like that, VPN. Okay. So here's an example of a localization bug. Nothing to really pull up here. You probably can't see the screen, but the translation itself, you notice that it's in English here, but then it has some parts in a different language. The currency should be in RUB versus USD. Okay, it's not, the date and time format is totally different. Okay, so you can probably imagine the reason why localization is important. If I'm going to your site from this country and I may be interested in your product, but I don't understand that amount of currency. I'm going to have trouble. I'm not going to go, unless I really, really want it, I'm not going to go somewhere else and translate it, right? I'm not going to say, hey, how does USD convert to RUB or the date and time, right? I may be totally, believe it or not, that's something that can really mess things up because the date and time are wrong. Let's say I placed an order. Oh shoot, I thought it was going to come on that day, but it was reversed because it was in the US format. So that's why it's important, because that if it's a product e-commerce, that can make a big problem. So your job is as QAs to catch those kind of things and report them. Okay. This always makes me a little nervous thinking about day after for Christmas shopping and after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, right? But can your door handle all those people coming through? Obviously not, right? Didn't break, but you put it to the stress. How responsive is our product if we have 100 people, right? Yeah, what's the network throughput? Good point. Does it crash at 100 people? Does it crash on Fridays, right? Because for some reason on Fridays the server has a load on it. What's the performance? How think about it like a car, right? If you have a race car, all these race cars have to go through performance testing, right? What's that breaking point of my engine? You're going to have some different levels of stress testing, performance testing under different workloads, but you just need to know what type of performance is expected and where it can break. So those are the types of testing you'll do. You'll have different tools that can modify the throughput and whatnot. But performance testing is testing how well your application will handle certain situations. Okay, you can develop your things, and then on top of that, then you can build your load testing, your stress testing once you know more about your performance. Yeah, so it's the basis of all the other tests, performance testing. Excuse me. So yeah, in the course, there's an important question that I'll take a minute to answer because we're talking about apps and software. So we're going to be looking at websites and mobile apps. Here's a perfect example of performance testing, right? Kylie Jenner, well known throughout at least the United States and other places as a wealthy individual who has a very successful makeup product line. This was back in 2016. So yeah, it's popular. I launched this product. Everybody wants to log on. Okay, I can order right 200,000 people on a website. That's a lot. That's a lot of traffic, right? You think, and if you learn about networking, you'll see that there's only so much a pipeline of traffic can handle, right? Think about it like a network traffic, and then when you drive a car, your highway can only handle so many cars, right? Eventually, it's going to get clogged up. Same thing happened here, and you can imagine, it might be a little bit of frustration for people, but actually there was angry customers because they couldn't place an order, or they had to wait. Somebody else might got to the product because they got to it faster, because you don't know what's going on in other places. You just know what's happening to you as the user, right? You might have a friend saying, hey, can you get that Kylie Jenner makeup for me, whatnot? But if they can't access it, it's going to result in a problem. How could you have mitigated that, or how could you have prevented that? You'd probably say, okay, this is probably a little deeper than you go as a QA, but you would know how many users you usually have on the site, right? On any given day, she has, so many thousand. Now she has this new product out. It's been heavily advertised. Let's throw some more users on there and see if the site will come down, right? And if they can afford all the other stuff they spend money on, they can definitely afford to do that testing, which they should have, right? Because she probably lost quite a bit of sales because of that. So it definitely happens. Yep. So now we're going to talk about usability testing. Okay. Remember, I talked about the differences between usability and functionality. Usability testing is a method used to evaluate how easy it is to use, but also the user experience, the user friendliness, right? Can Homer Simpson use my product? Can a 5-year-old use my product? Is it designed to work for the general population, or is it designed just for academics in a college? You have to know your user base, right? And then that's something you also learn about. There's a whole vein of testing that is user experience testing. They have roles of different people that use the products, but you as a QA engineer, you're going to have to know a bit about user experience, right? Is this usability? Is this friendly to my user? If I go back, does it refresh? If I do a search, like we talked about humans, we said it wasn't quite user friendly when we try to search for something in the city. So part of what you'll do is you'll learn about the users, and then in that process, you'll do user experience, usability testing. It can be a lot of fun too, depending on what type of product or company you work for. It can be a lot of fun. Now, this is the downside of when something goes wrong, and it's probably a few different things: usability and functionality, but more focused on the usability side, right? This particular emergency alert went out in 2018 in Hawaii. They could have been doing some testing. I don't know the full story behind it, but whatever it was, there was an alert that went out to real people, real phones. It may have even been presented on because it's an emergency alert system, so it may have presented itself, excuse me, on these large screens. And that's no joke. A ballistic missile threat. You got the warning, but there was no real threat, and that may be we don't know the full details of why that happened or how they could have done to prevent it, but you want to be careful that you're not ever sending anything out in production that you don't intend to. Yeah, as one of the Sharon said here, it was really scary. Yeah, I can imagine, because those things, that's what they're designed to do. But they, thank God, there was nothing real, and it was just a use. But you want to make sure you're in your staging or your development branch only when you're testing these kind of things. Okay, so you'll find that everywhere from travel websites to mechanical things to hospitals, there's a lot of things involved there that involve risk. So keep that in mind when you're QA. But it's still a fun, rewarding career. Usability bug. Okay. We're going to go here back to humans because we just have a rich plethora of examples for you. And what we're going to do in this one, we're going to do this is how the system should analyze, connect you with different resources here. Let me just pull it up on humans. So again, if you want to do this as well on your side, feel free to do that. Yeah, and I'm just going to bring it up here. Okay, so here they're supposed to be matching. If we do, let's see here. So here, for example, we have matching here for cleaning, right? So you would expect everything to be cleaning, right? Now there's some stuff that got through here. You see this is a user that's entered some gibberish. It may have been one of the testers, but do we want these things to post up, right? Is that necessarily a problem? It may very well be. So we want to make sure if we say something, right, the best match. Let's do another. Does anybody have an example they want to try? Let's see how well the matching works with the search for a candidate. I mean, potential skill. Babysitting. Okay, that's a good one. Just have to spell babysitting. Okay. Yeah, and there's a lot of different options. So again, we see the okay. Funny that you said that, dog walker. Like I said, now babysitting is generally a baby. Now it's not a big deal, but the fact that dog sitter shows up tells you that the design behind this, the database, how it searches and renders and shows things to you, there's some missing here, right? If I just say sitting, it's probably going to bring up different things, right? Because it could be a babysitter, it could be a pet, it could be the by escrow agency, whatever that is. Okay, I know that popped up. It could be cat sitting, dog grooming, any of those things can show up, right? So there's some definite usability problems here, and yeah, there's a question about locations and things like that in the mile radius. I'm not 100% sure, but so there's a lot of things you could do just by filtering through all this. And disclaimer, I have no control what pops up here when we search for stuff, so keep that in mind. It's all definitely humans and different skills. Okay, so yeah, that's supposed to be a good interactive matching system. It's not. There were some definite issues there. Okay, and that could have been a user that was totally not going to go back now because stuff popped up they didn't expect. Security testing. Testing technique to determine if an information system protects, that's the keyword, protects data and maintains functionality as intended. So you could have good protection, but okay, so now I can't use the software. Okay, I feel safe, but I can't use the software. So defeats the purpose, right? You want to make sure that you're secure but still functional, right? Everything's working as it's supposed to, but it's not sharing my passwords. It's not sharing my email. I can't just pretend to reset my password and get a new password and log into somebody else's account. Those kind of things that you'll do. So you kind of want to think like a hacker, right? That's not your main job as in this role, but you could become ethical hacker, right? It's a total field where these companies hire people to try to break into their networks and find security flaws and get paid really well. So it's a very good offset of QA security testing. But coming to this course in TestPro, you're going to learn a little bit about all this, and you're going to be well prepared to go out into the field. Where, as opposed to if you just try to do it on your own and say, "Oh, I took a couple YouTube videos and things like that," you're going to say, "No, I have a certification from TestPro, certified. This is all the things they taught me." It's going to show up on your resume. It's going to look good. So keep that in mind. That it's the entry point, and you can always branch out in the future. Okay, so great springboard for that. Now, another example, and we like to pick on things that impact people, right? Because it's important. And Apple tends to have some history of it. Now they have very good security now, but there's always holes, right? In this case, it was a 14-year-old boy from Arizona, January 2019, and he found a loophole in Apple FaceTime, and this is only in iOS 12, that users could listen and see a recipient on a call after cancellation. That's definitely not something you want. I'll give you a very, very good example of a similar bug that I found within one of my organizations. I used to work for an app where you could talk and text on airplanes, but these weren't just big commercial airplanes. These were private jets, well-to-do individuals, and the mute looked like it was on mute, but I said, let's just make sure. So I would do test, and you could hear people talking, and by that time somebody had already reported it, but we got it fixed, right? So that can create a big issue because these things impact users' lives in different ways. Okay, so Apple will pay you or whoever can find that bug up to $200,000. But if you find bugs that really, because that could really impact their company in the millions, right? So that's some small change for them to catch these bugs early. So no, that's a bounty program, meaning that you're independent, you don't work for the company or anything. You just kind of showing them you've hunted these defects and you found them. Okay, so how do we find bugs? Well, you have your cases and things like that, but you also have ad hoc and exploratory testing. And exploration is great because you don't know what you're going to find. You're on a journey, right? There's been a lot of good analogies from software testers where they say, you want to think about this software as a journey, a trip. What do I need for my trip? Where am I going? What am I going to find? Ad hoc, what it means is that you're improvising, right? You don't have a setup plan. If you have just a meeting, right? You don't have that meeting plan. It's an ad hoc meeting, right? Let's just throw this meeting in the middle of the day. See if people are available. Ad hoc testing is you're just doing things that aren't planned. Okay. Exploratory testing, you're not planning. You may have a roadmap. Say, I want to go here. I want to go here, but I don't know what's going to happen in that journey along the way. Okay. So that's your what you're going to do when you do exploratory testing. And as the slide mentions here, it's very random. Testing performed without planning. Documentation. Now, I will say it depends how well you do it, but where I work now, a lot of times we want to document what we do in our exploration. We want to know because you'll forget. So it's very important to say we did this. Maybe it worked great, but you have a documentation. Those things are exploration documents, right? Experimental studies. What happens if I enter this much data? What happens if this is where you can really have a lot of fun with your exploration, because it can be tedious just going through scripts and like they mentioned, you find a lot more defects and exploratory testing, because these are unintended consequences. These are things that the developers didn't think about, maybe the product owner didn't think about. Typically, you just do those once. Now, if you find a really good test and you seem to find things that happen a lot, defects that's really useful, you might want to convert that into a test case. But not a lot of formality here. You're just exploring the app, doing different things that aren't planned necessarily, but it's a good way to find defects, but it's not the only way, but it's definitely a good way. And in that exploration, just like when you go on a road trip or you go to another country or you visit somewhere, you want to take pictures, right? Because you want to remember, in this case, you want to capture your evidence, right, of the screenshot. Android, there's a lot of ways to do it. And this might just be one phone, power down, because I know there's so many different ways to do it. On iPhone, it's typically the same, just power and volume up, screenshot, Command Shift 4. So the point here is that you're going to want to learn all the different ways to capture and record. A lot of times we use video. Right? You want to use hypercam, those kind of things, or there's a lot of open source options out there where you can record what's happening. So don't ever leave it just to your memory. Your memory will only take you so far, right? You want to document screenshots, videos, anything you can do to present it easily to the developers or whatnot. Okay. So we've got some time here to talk about some other things. It's only 2:07 on my side, so we've got time. So you're going to get MLS access for the first 3 lessons here. You'll definitely have that, and then should you choose to continue with the course, you'll continue to have access for LMS and everything. You want to go through it just as if as a student, you're going to go through it, look at all the videos, the lesson plans, get familiar with it. And you want to complete all the way to the second class, right? If there's any sort of homework. In this case, we have a bug hunting competition. So whoever participates in this competition, I'd recommend everybody give it a shot. It's a lot of fun, and you see the interesting stuff we saw on humans. Yeah. So learning management or learning, it's a system to get your homework in there. Okay, so whoever wins the competition, and I've been here a few of these sessions, these kickoffs, and we have had winners that they get that $200 credit, and that makes a huge difference on your tuition, and it also motivates the others to keep going. And whoever was in second, third, like, we'll just try a little harder next time to find more defects, and it's a really good way to get your feet wet in the process here. And the next lesson will be on Tuesday, I believe, and I'll announce the winners of that and the $200 credit. So not a lot of homework on your first time, but you want to get the link. So all the new students here, it's going to have all your due dates with everything. So you want to register in LMS, click the links. Definitely want to save it to your bookmarks. You can see I have all my TestPro stuff in here, right? You want to click there and save it to your bookmarks because you're going to have access to that throughout the course. Complete a lesson, so read, watch, just follow the flow. It's really simple. It's not rocket science. It's just something you go through, and it's very well organized. There's always feedback on how to improve it, but it's definitely a good platform. So you get that. You get today's recording, so you get to hear everything I went through today. You'll get to play it back again. You'll have information for the bug hunting competition. You have the presentation I used today, so you can go through all that, and there may be some modifications there, but you'll have that, so you can go over all that. It's very simple, but a good way to get started. And beyond that, you might be thinking, well, how many people have done this course out of all the 300 plus people that Test Pros help find jobs? This is obviously, if you go to the site, there's a lot more on there as videos, but what this slide illustrates, there's a lot of people that have success here. And this one, Sabina said, "Thank you, Test Pro, so much for your support and great practice. I would have not done it without you. I accepted an offer recently, starting my first QA job next month." So that's Sabina, and then there's a lot of other ones here, just different testimonials. And look, that's just one little snippet. If we go here, there's plenty more. These are real people that have their profiles on a lot of them are willing to share their profiles. You can look, you can see them on LinkedIn, how they progress through their career. There's the video tutorial testimony. So the whole purpose behind testimonials is if you have any doubts about it, you can go and listen to these other people's experience. It's not just because they want to be nice and say really nice things about us. It's because the program works, and the people, if you have to put in your work, you have to do your homework, you have to learn, you have to communicate if there's issues, right? But if you do all those things and you work hard, there's absolutely no reason you can't be successful in this career. So there's a lot of people that have never done QA before. We'll talk about in greater detail some of those. We'll share some of those stories in the future, because why do we do that? Because it's important. Because a lot of people think, oh, I can't do it, or I don't know, I don't have the experience, whatever, right? The reason I do this too is because this obviously is I'm working professional in the field, but I want to share what I've learned, because honestly, software testing saved my life in a way, because I was 10 years ago, I was in entertainment and those things like that, and trying to find work, and I couldn't. And software testing came along and gave me a solid career, because I was one of those guys that did a lot of things and didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, because I have a lot of talents and different things, right? But the world needs specific skills. And so you can translate whatever you know into your future career. And the basic thing you need to know is if they can do it, you can do it too. Absolutely. No doubt. Okay. And we don't have, I believe, anybody on the call today, but there's plenty of students you can connect with later on, and and that's a lot of people have. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of people are in different stages of their life. I can look back now 10 years ago when I was struggling, looking for work, before I went back to school and did more things about computers. It wasn't the first thing on my mind. Like, I didn't think about software testing, but it definitely saved my life in a lot of different ways, because it's a field where you're not born into it. You're not born to be some people have just born technological skills, but you have to pick them up, right? And thank you. And absolutely, anybody can do it. It just takes the hard work, dedication, and if you demonstrate these skills, you can do it. So what do you need? Now, talking about others' testimonials and myself, what do you need to land a job as a quality assurance engineer? Excuse me. Well, you definitely need knowledge, right? You don't need to know everything, but you need some knowledge to get the ball rolling. Okay, with Test Pro and the program, you're going to gain that knowledge. And let me tell you this: once you have that knowledge, nobody can ever take that away from you. That knowledge is locked in here. It'll be with you for the rest of your life. That knowledge. You'll get real tools and techniques. So you're going to get like Jira access. And these are things that some companies don't even want to pay for. But as a student, the Test Pro, you'll have access to that, because we want you to get experience so you can be successful in your new jobs and your new search. Real tools, techniques. You're going to learn about different types of testing. You're going to be working with other people that are in the same situation. You're going to be in a technical environment. We're going to talk about, we're going to practice with real projects. So we have humans as an example, right? That's in production, but we also have two other applications and websites. And somebody asked the question about mobile. What you will be learning about mobile apps, Android and iOS. And don't worry about having a device. There's simulators out there that you can use. And this I really want to highlight, because support is important. You'll be invited to the channel, Slack channel, and other forms of communication. Now, there's a lot of different students, but there's always support. There's always someone that's going to try to get back to you as soon as possible. so that you have support. And when we say support, it's not just, hey, we're here to answer questions. We want to see you succeed. They'll talk about the mentorship. I've done some with some of the students from previous courses, and it really makes a difference. Sometimes just having somebody look over your skills and saying, well, you can add this and you can succeed, or you can do this. Sometimes people just need to hear that they're confident, right? They need to boost their confidence, but you'll get that support from the teachers, from the other people that work in test. It's there. I can say if it wasn't there, I probably wouldn't be here. But the support is there. And then the interview prep, we talk about that. So myself or some other teachers or whoever's available we prepare you for the interview. We look at your resumes. You'll do a mock interview, and those are a lot of fun because you can kind of prep people for the real interviews, and those help because let's say you never did any of this and you try to go into an interview, you might be lost, right? Test Pro is a boot camp, right, to get you ready for what you need to have in the field. So you'll get all that stuff included, and it's a very unique situation because there's a lot of boot camps that charge a lot more, and they don't offer hardly any of that. Okay, so you need all that, and you'll get it. This is what Test Pro offers, right, for the QA engineer course. No, please, if you don't understand these words, you most likely won't. That's fine. But I'm going to quickly go over it and explain to you. Okay, the SDLC is the software development life cycle. You'll see that on the QA jobs when they try to post, right? Okay, do you have experience with SDLC, right? STLC, practice roles, responsibilities, methodologies, the technological life cycle, test documentation. Does the applicant know how to write test cases? Does the candidate know how to do checklists, test plans, mind maps, defects? Confluence is a way where we write wiki pages. You're going to learn all this. And you're going to learn types of testing, right? It's important to know there's different types, what to do here, what to do here, what not to do here, what to do here. You're going to learn different types of testing, why we do them. Just this right here, if you learn all this stuff here, you're going to be very attractive to a company because they're going to know you have familiarity. Okay, you're going to learn about the modern application architecture. That just means how things are laid out. Where do we get our content from, right? A CDN, content delivery network. Where is it stored? A cache. You learn about making cache, but you also learn about a network cache or memory cache, right? Bad joke. HTTP is just the internet protocol. So you learn these things that you learn about, at least you'll be able to talk about in the interview, you'll understand. Android, iOS tools. Now, this is important. Companies want to make sure you know how to use build servers, CI. All that means is continuous integration. We keep delivering, we keep putting stuff out. Version control, databases. I teach a class on SQL. It's a lot of fun. We go through the website and we pull different data and we have fun with that. The different types of testing. You'll practice. You see that here is about 5 or 6 times. That's one of the key differences that sets Test Pro apart from other boot camps is that you get actual real world practice. You're not just looking at videos and practicing on your own, and you're like working in teams like you would in the real world. So this is an opportunity to invest in your life, in your career. There's many things you can spend your money on. I talked about a $2,000 iPhone, right? There's people that go to sleep out in the tent to buy a $2,000 iPhone. That's not going to really, it's not going to further the life. Maybe they're going to have a little bit of fun, but they're throwing that much money in an iPhone. Think about it. This is your life. This is your career. This is your family, and it loses value over the year. Exactly. It depreciates. There's people that spend $30,000 on a new car. I was looking at a new car the other day because of where I work. I get look at different cars, but I decided I don't want to spend that much money on a brand new car, right? Because it depreciates over time. Your knowledge does not depreciate. you could say that you get older and things change in the market, but like I said, this knowledge nobody can ever take away from you. So you're investing in yourself. You deserve to succeed, and you deserve to invest in yourself. You're going to learn about automation. That's big. If you like a little bit of programming and you don't mind, learning some code, doesn't mean you have to be a developer. It just means that you have to learn a little bit about code, and there's a lot of there. And actually, there's automation where you can record the steps. Those tend to be, they kind of break real easy, but you can learn about that automation. But if you pick up on that, your pay potential goes way up. Okay. Also, the QA interview will get you prepped with the resume. We'll look at it. We'll say, modify some things here. There's some just best practices, but we'll also help you get that your resume QA. If it doesn't matter where you came from, we'll help you make that resume look more software friendly, okay, to a recruiter or an HR person, someone that's hiring, okay? And there was a question about, being bilingual. Absolutely. Those skills help. You don't know where you're going to end up in this field. If you told me 10 years ago I'd be working for an app testing people getting rides for self-driving cars, I wouldn't have thought about that. You just never know. Or if I was going to work for a airplane, industry testing, you just don't know where it's going to take you. But having bilingual skills, having your medical skills, everything you've done in your life can be used towards this field, right? It doesn't matter what it is; it's all relevant. The people that don't want you to succeed are the ones that'll tell you, well, hey, that's not relevant, or that. But you want to be specific to what you learn. Look, you want to be geared to what you're looking for, but don't count yourself out. Always learn from what you have in the past. Okay, we're going to go through the mock interview with mentors such as myself or somebody else, and we'll throw some questions at you that they might ask in a real job interview and things like that. So that alone, people pay money for. Just for that alone, people pay several $1,000s for coaches. I mean, think about it. Life coaches charge several thousand, and people make paint, whatever. You're getting all this experience plus that. So that's like the cherry on top. And I really talk passionately about it because I believe in the program, and I know that it helps a lot of people get out of some bad situations into some good career situations. Okay. And one of the great things about this is it's all virtual. It's in the 6 p.m. to 7:30. It's the evening, so a lot of you still have day jobs. And if you can't, and even if you can't make that, it's all recorded. If you can't make that, so it's just Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 to 7:30, an hour and a half of live. Obviously, you have your homework and things outside of class, but you have that, and then online weekend Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. a.m. Pacific time. So, for example, I'm Eastern time, so it just depends where you're at. So the point of that is a very flexible schedule. You're not going to be bogged down. Your life's not going to be totally bogged down with courses if you're like in a full-time university, right? You're going to have times to do it, and it's not very long. They'll talk about that in the details. No classes. So federal holiday, for example, Labor Day, things like that. We don't have classes because we want to respect people's holidays and time to get a rest. We're going to use Jira. Talked about that. That's a bug where we report the bugs, defects, things like that. Confluence, Zephyr is how you build test cases. And that you can pass, fail, whatever you need to do with that. Zoom. We're on Zoom right now, but that's important to know because in the real world, a lot of times we're using these telecommunications technologies. Slack. A lot of companies will be using Slack. So as you become familiar with Slack, you can add that in your resume and say, I'm comfortable with Slack because the point is you want to be able to communicate with your coworkers, right? And no, you'll get a separate you'll get an account for this, and then you don't have to add a separate like with Slack, I can just log in and I can have different workspaces. So you'll have the BA the B27 workspace, which I'll be a part of, and other people. So you'll have all those tools, and obviously some of those are not free. So that's why we have to charge the the tuition and things like that, because the support, we have to be able to have these licenses for you to use, but you're going to get real experience with that. Xcode, I use Xcode on a daily basis. Android Studio, I've used that a lot before. Charles, love Charles. The more you get to use it, it's a very useful tool. And you don't be afraid about these different tools. You'll learn how to use them. Browser Stack's a great way to get out in the internet and do virtual testing. Postman, that's just a way that we're going to learn about testing how websites communicate to each other. So you'll learn about, and if you have experience with all these tools, you're going to become a very attractive candidate to potential organization. Okay. Projects. I talked about Cole yet, but that's the one that for the SQL class that I teach databases, we do Cole, but you'll get a find things and have them fixed. The developers, so you'll actually report to real developers who will fix these things. And you get to communicate with them. So it's a music streaming platform. And of course, humans is just it's that website we saw here. That's more just for finding defects and learning about how to find different types of things. Now, the Android and iOS application, you will be testing that as well in the program. So all those things you learn, it's a lot packed into the academy, but that's why it's a boot camp, right? You're going through this stuff each week, but the more you do it, easier it gets. Okay. So this is the part where we talk about what you need for your success, right? We talked about your knowledge. Check. Theory, virtual instruction, real teachers, homework, feedback, right? This is how you can improve your bug reports. This is how you can improve your test cases. Yes, and we'll definitely get to the other details. Real tools. We mentioned all the tools you're going to use. Real projects. Check. You have all that included. Support, teachers, mentors, coordinators, team. You have a community in TestPro. We all work in the field, and we're all trying to better ourselves and improve ourselves, right? Working in small teams, Scrum. They're called Scrum teams. You'll learn more about that when we talk about the SDLC class. We'll talk about what that is. But you'll get experience that. I can promise you there's no academy, there's not many boot camps that will let you get an actual team experience to prepare you for working in real teams. Okay, you're gonna get the interview prep. You get 3 individual mentoring sessions included. More you can get. There's other ones if needed that are very affordable. They're not going to break the bank for a mentoring session, and your certificate of completion. You'll have that. Job search assistance. But that's a separate product. But you do get that's an option for you. So the mentoring, the resume prep, and things like that are included. And then the option, depending on what package you get, if there's a potential to have a 1-month internship, and that's great. You can put that on your work resume as internship, and it's something that will actually give you work experience. Whereas now you're a student in the academy, but the internship you actually worked with projects, and you're actually going to be able to put that. Okay. So before we talk about the price, I want you to know this is important. Anytime a company can give you a guarantee, that means they know what they have is good for you. Okay. This is within 1 full year of active searching, you can get a refund if you don't land a job within 1 year of active searching. Okay. So that means you're actively looking, you're putting in resumes, you're talking to recruiters. You can't just stay at home and say, I took the course and didn't find nothing. You have to actively be looking. But if you can demonstrate that and you still haven't, that's very nice of them to do that, of us, TestPro, to offer that. What if we don't like the course within 2 weeks, 14 days from the first class, no questions asked? If it's just for whatever reason, things change, you decided you had not something you want to do at the moment, maybe anything, No questions asked. You can request the full refund, and they'll process it within 14 days. So you have 2 weeks from payment to think about it and to go through. I mean, obviously, in that 2 weeks, you'll still have some courses that you go through. Sorry, some classes that you'll go through in the course. So that's good. You have that option. So if there's any question in your mind, that should alleviate some of that stress. So we talked about the schedule, and if you can't make it to a class, everything's recorded. What's included in the job, like we have the mentoring sessions, the interviews, practice mock interviews. We have interview coaching, right? Things that we can help you get better as an interviewee. Resume building, looking at that. Basically, and the connections. Obviously, if there's an opening potentially, there's no guarantees with an offer, and it's all based on the company. But if you demonstrate that, there is connections with partners, right? Because they've worked with TestPro before, and they know they put out quality students from the academy. Internship and the real experiences. The internship's an optional part of the separate, but that is a possibility. It's something where you can go working. You'll actually be working as a QA engineer in the projects, testing the applications, reporting. No theory, just practice. Okay, and of course, we know that not everybody can afford to pay all tuition all at once. Just like a school or university, there's packages, there's financial programs. So there's installment plans, payments. There is loan options, but you'll talk to the admissions team about that, finding something that works for you. But the point is that we want to help you get in the door here to learn, get your education in advance. Okay. So those options are available. However, just a comparison. Now this is an entire year, right? That's in-state tuition only, right? That's an example anywhere from 10,000, 12,000, and there's no guarantee you're going to get a job with that. That's just your education. They may have some things on the side they offer you to prepare for your job, but if you're out of state, tuition definitely goes up. If you really want to go to that specific college, 32,000 on up. And that's just traditional college, right? So we're talking about education, right? This is the education industry. Okay, now let's forget about college. Just think about, okay, well, I just want to go to a coding boot camp or a QA or testing boot camp. So there's an example here about 150 different boot camp providers. The average cost per boot camp is up almost $14,000, right? Almost 14,000. That's a new car right there, right? That's a lot of money. I'm not gonna pretend it's not, but it's valuable. You know why they can charge that? And they've been charging that because they know it's valuable, and people are willing to invest in themselves, and that's okay. That's a good thing. You know, I've done it. All these other teachers have done it in their career to advance. But so that's big sticker price, right? So we just want you to know what it usually costs. Okay. I know the moment you've been waiting for. $2,500 is the cost of the boot camp. That I'm gonna tell you the truth. I've seen other ones, and that's one of the lowest priced boot. Think about all the stuff that's included. That's one of the lowest priced boot camps that I've ever seen, because that's, you get a lot in this time period, but I would say 5,000 is a little more average for something like this, but we're willing to cut it in half to help, because we have a lot of options for you, but we want to make it affordable, things like that. So 2,500, that's the cost of an iPhone nowadays, right? Like I said, you can buy a new iPhone, things like that. That's just an example, but it's not a lot of money. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. You're investing in yourself, and you'll get a lot back in return, right? So you'll probably make that money back getting another job. If you follow through, do everything you're supposed to do, and you're eligible for jobs, you can make that back at one paycheck. That's not a lot, but everybody's got different situations, right? That's why we have the money back guarantee. Now, here's the nice bonus for today. We have a coupon all you have to do is I'm going to leave this up here. I can scan it. I'm offering a coupon. They'll send you a link here that's tied to that, or you can scan that. It should be tied to this particular intro course here. But first 10 students today that are able to pay can get it for only $2,397. So that's a nice little discount. If you can pay today, you can save some money there. And you just have to scan that, and this of course is if you could pay today with the tuition and everything. I just wanted to show you what the certificate looks like. It'll say Test Pro, certify that so and so has completed the program, and then of course you have Dennis' name, the co-founder of Test Pro. His name will be on the signature. So it's a valid certification that you can actually put on your resume, and you'll be able to. So I'm going to go back to we're going to open it up to questions. I know it's running a little long because a lot of information, but I wanted to share that with you. So now that's up there. If you don't want to do it now, it's just today. I don't think it has to be right this very second, but just take a picture, screenshot of that. If you use that coupon, you can get that discount, and that'll get you enrolled and all that good stuff. It'll get you paid for the class. Okay, so we can. I know you guys have been asking, you guys and gals and everybody have been asking questions. We can open it up, and I'm not going to be able to answer everything here, but we have support. Some of the other leaders can answer. But let me take a look. So before I start answering questions, I'm just want to get some feedback on what everybody thinks about the industry. Did this open up your eyes a little more to the industry? Does it make you feel more comfortable, or is there more questions now? And we'll start with so Karen asked, why does it take up to 6 months to get a job? That's just general. They're just saying within that 6 months. Like I said, some people, it just depends. It all depends on the company. It all depends how ready you are. All those things, right? You could get a job after you finish. You can get a job anytime. You can get a job now while you're in the course, and you could say, I'm studying this and I'm learning. That's just our stats, right? We're saying that it can happen there. And there were some questions about the coupon. If you already paid, I don't know. You'd have to take that up with the admissions and the staff, but I'm sure they can respond to you there. And I don't know the specific for job assistance. That's another question they'll have to answer. Thank you very much. Clear and concise. I've done this a few times, so I'm starting to get better. But my point is, I want you to know that I really believe in it. Like I'm not like a used car salesman trying to say something I don't believe in. I believe in education, and I believe in your success, and I know it'll work for you if you stick with it. Yeah, and there's a lot of tools you could start to learn now. The free stuff. There's a lot of things you can go out and look, but you want to kind of focus, right? So just start with the courses here. Just start to look at the websites. There's some things you could read about, like exploratory testing and types of things. Great question. And thank you. I'm looking forward to working with you at all as well. As a teacher, the job market stable for the career is yeah. And then now that you mentioned contract jobs as QA, yeah, because a lot of times you can get paid anywhere from starting, if you're entry level, $25, $50 on up per hour, depending on your experience. I mean, obviously in the entry, if you're just breaking into the field, you're going to have to work your way up, but the contracts pay a little more because there's not as much benefits and things like that. But if you work for a company as a direct hire, then there's different pay scales there. So no, I will not be teaching the entire course. Unfortunately, I don't have the availability, but I do a couple classes on testing types and SQL. And then of course the intro, we kind of get you information here. And well, there was a question about the PPE certification. That's something you could look up. I mean, it's the slides. It's way in advance, so I don't want to take away the coupon here for them. But you can definitely look that up. Yeah, and if any questions about assignments, you're going to get the LMS link today. So you're going to start. So first thing you want to do is start to, if you really want to get, if you're hungry to find, if you're bug hungry, and that's good because that shows you have interest in finding the defects. You want to go to humans and start to play around with it. It's perfectly fine, just like a user would. Start to look for things. Think about it like a user. What are you looking for? What do you need in your? Do you need someone to clean your carpet? Do you need a plumber? Start to use it like you really would, but write down the notes of the defects. You'll start to learn about filing defects. But as of right now, just start exploring that. And there were some questions about programming knowledge, and now there's an advanced automation course because automation is a very specific. You'll learn a little bit about it. It's not going to be in this particular QA engineer course. It's not heavy on programming, but you will learn some. But it's not. There's a specific automation course that's a little more focused on that. And the recorded classes will be in LMS. Yep, there's a link on top that has it's all synced up. You just click play and you can go back and watch everything. I'm just looking at the quick questions real here. I want to make sure we don't leave anybody hanging if they had some important questions. But yeah, looks like we've covered most. But I just want to cap it with this. I know this is your first intro class. I really want you to believe that to know and believe that this is a good career. You can do it. Anybody can transition into the field. It's very rewarding. It's stable. I've been in this field 10 years, honestly, and I thank the universe. I thank the situation, but I've never been hungry looking for work. I was in a situation where I was trying to get people to contact, right? But now I'm in a situation where people contact me, all right? And I'm very happy where I am, but that's you can get there too. Okay, my confidence in the field is up now because I've been working in it. I paid my dues, right? But now it's your time, and you can do it. Okay. So just real quick, I'm just at the bottom of the page here. I think thank you I really appreciate that. I tried my best to be relatable and real. So now, okay, very important question from Krista. Is it possible to get an IT job without a college degree? And the question, the answer is a resounding yes. Yes. Even the big companies like Google, Facebook, they hire coders without a college degree. That's not to negate college and say it's not important. It's great to have that formal education. But you can land a QA job specifically without but you do need knowledge and you do need experience, which you're starting to get here in the program. But yeah, absolutely, you can find a job with the don't work now, but that's your job to review the requirements. Like on the job, it'll say BA required, bachelor required, not required. A lot of times they'll say in lieu of experience, you can go without a degree. So don't worry, you'll be fine. If you stick with it and you focus, you'll be fine. And there's really no yeah, that's a good point. There is no specific college degree for QA. It's just computer science. And I don't know something about, I'm not sure, Carlos, but yeah, oh yeah, there's Dennis' book. Yeah, they put that there. Okay. Yeah, so no, I look forward to seeing you all on Tuesday. It's 2:44. I went 15 minutes over because I felt like we had good information. But please take a screenshot. You'll get more opportunities to pay later, but first 10 today get that discount to $23.97. I mean, honestly, it's really affordable, and you're not. There's not much buyer's remorse in that. You're investing in yourself, and you're going to do well if you stick with it. Okay. Yeah, and the next two are included. Do you still have some time to think about it? Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate it, and thank you for the kind comments. I appreciate that. Thank you, and look forward to seeing everyone on Tuesday. In 2 days, 3 days. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. But appreciate it. See you, everyone.